My question is about imagination and how it relates to the law of attraction, and essentially to try and use it as a tool. So, if I have an image or a picture in my imagination, can I vibrate with that picture? Is that like thinking in pictures? Is imagination thinking in pictures?
Imagination is, that's a very good definition of it. Imagination is, let's start another place. What's the difference between living reality and dreaming? Like in your dreamscape when you sleep at night.
I don't see a difference because I've been in places in my life where I have lived in my imagination, like before I go to sleep.
Well, the reason we ask the question, and just as a sort of basis, everyone sort of kind of feel, when you are looking around, here you are in what you call reality. So you're looking around, the room is big, the chandeliers are beautiful, there are cameras around, and there are some big pictures of us, and there is Jerry, and here is a stage of sorts, and so you are interpreting this time-space reality through your physical senses. Mm-hmm. When you sleep at night and your eyes are closed, you are still interpreting a vibration and translating it into a form of reality. And we just want you to take it a step further and realize that anything that you are seeing in your mind's eye is an interpreting of vibration. But we want to put it into the category of interpreting vibration, and we want to say that whether you are interpreting what you call reality, or whether you are interpreting what we are calling dreamscape reality, or whether you are interpreting what you are calling imagination, it is still interpreting. So now let's use the word interpreting and creating simultaneously, or to mean the same thing. Now, many people would say, no, Abraham, there's a distinction between my imagination, especially if I'm imagining what I want, while I might be observing what I don't want. And we say, but it's still interpreting. Your observation of everything is based upon your vibrational stance, which causes the platform from which you see it. We just sort of want to get that out there. No two people are interpreting any reality in exactly the same way. You have similarities. That's why there's this platform that we are acknowledging is your reality. But if we could get over the hump of reality being so real, and we could call it all just vibrating or interpreting, then there wouldn't be such a big jump for people. They would be able to more easily expect things that they are imagining to become reality more quickly. We've been talking about getting into the vortex and doing all of your affirming from inside the vortex. And by affirming, we usually mean verbally making statements of what you choose to live, affirming it as you want it to be. But there are a lot of people affirming a lot as they don't want it to be, as they're talking about it. Because anytime you're talking, you are affirming. You're making it firmer. You're making it more a vibrational pattern. So we would like to take what you're talking about into a little further advantage to all of you by acknowledging that imagination is visual affirming. Visual affirming. So now the question is, am I doing my imagining, my visual affirming, my practicing of my vibration from inside or outside the vortex? Am I practicing am I expecting another bad breakfast? It's imagination. It's using imagination. It's using imagination to anticipate another bad breakfast, or it's using my imagination to anticipate a good breakfast, a better breakfast. And so what you're helping us to pinpoint here, and it's really something that you might want to consider, is how far from reality are you able to imagine? That's really the crux of deliberate creation. How far from reality are you able to imagine? And we want to say to you, if you're trying to imagine a solution from inside the problem, you're not going to get anywhere.
Right.
You have to be,
Right.
you have to be free of the vibration of the problem in order to imagine very far from it. There's a big vibrational difference between a problem and a solution.
Correct.
Big vibrational difference between a question and an answer.
Yes.
So what you have to do is decide, when Esther visits with us, she can't pose the question and receive the answer in the real time as it is happening here. Right now, she's tuned to the answer.
Right.
So you pose the question, she's tuned to the vibration of Abraham, so the answer comes forth. The other day, Jerry got up early and he was poking around at some things he was thinking about, and when Esther got up, he could hardly wait to talk to her about it. And as soon as he began talking about it, within 30 seconds of begin talking about it, Esther said, "I think Abraham wants to talk to you about this." Well, it wasn't that we were knocking on her door wanting to get in on the conversation. It was that he had done such a good job of queuing up his question that the solution, the answer, was all queued up too. So when Esther awakened, not having been part of the vibration of the question, she immediately tuned into the vibration of the answer. You see what we're getting at? So, imagination. How far from reality can I allow my imagination to go? And we say, if you're out of the vortex, not far at all. In fact, not anywhere. But if you are in the vortex, then your imagination can explore all of the details of everything that you put there incrementally. And so what imagination really is, it's sort of like the premonition that we started with today, the subject of the premonition. What imagination is, and it falls in the same category of inspiration. Imagination is tuning in to the vibration of something not yet manifested in such a vivid way that I'm able to envision it. That's what imagination is.
Correct.
So there's out of the vortex imagination, worried about what might happen, what bad things might happen. Or there's inside the vortex imagination. Imagery, translation, pre-manifestation translation. So what's reality? Reality is what so many people have imagined that now many people are observing. And so you say, well, we all look and we can see that this is red and this is blue and this is long and this is short and this is this and this is this. And because we are agreeing on it, we call it reality. And we say, if we were standing in your physical shoes, we wouldn't get too hung up on calling anything physical reality. We would take pleasure from our imagination in any way we can. We would get into the vortex and just let our mind go and practice the imagery of anything wanted until we'd trained ourselves into the vibration of it so succinctly that now it has no choice other than to manifest.
Well, I have those references in my life because there have been things that I have imagined with such clarity, and from the physical plane, from everybody else's point of view, there was no way possible that this could have happened. But
well, the real power in imagination comes when, if you could say, I use my imagination to thrill myself in the vortex, then we say you are using it in the most powerful, beneficial way. If you say, I use my imagination to try to create things that are not yet created, we say you just shot yourself in the foot. Because in your wanting to create something that isn't yet, you've introduced the it isn't yetness to the vibration. Now the vibration isn't pure, and neither is your imagery. You see, what we're really talking about here, or at least what we want to really talk about here, is that as human creators, you keep wanting to get into the what should I do about it phase. In other words, you want to move your imagination into action. And we want to say to you, you never have to move your imagination into action. You don't have to move your imagination into action in order for everything that you imagine to come about. It's just fun to act in harmony with imagination. It's really fun to get your action in on it. But imagination, it is the imagery, it is the vibration that accomplishes your point of attraction, which causes the creation of it. Consistent imagery that doesn't defy itself. You know why things don't happen for a lot of people? They want it, but they want it, but they want it, but they don't have it. They want it, but they don't have it. They imagine having it, but they notice not having it. They imagine having it, but they notice not having it. So they never get pure enough in their vibration of what they want for the universal forces to actualize around it. You've got to have clean, pure, non-diluted, non-resisted imagination in order for it to manifest. But it doesn't have to be pure in order to give you pleasure. So if you take pleasure from it, 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 till you get to the point that it doesn't have to manifest because it's so pleasurable even without manifesting, then it will manifest.
Ooh.
And humans say, well, that stinks.
That's kind of...
Why won't it manifest when I could benefit from it manifesting? And we say, because manifestation comes on the heels of vibration that is consistent, wanted or unwanted. You get what you think about whether you want it or not. You get what you consistently think about whether you want it or not. You get what you imagine whether you want it or not. You get what you consistently imagine whether you want it or not. And what's happening with so many humans are pretty void of imagination. You've got the observation thing going on so well. You're such avid observers that you almost offer no vibration apart from what you're observing. And that's why things progress slowly for you.
Well, that in part is a challenge for me. I consider myself fairly imaginative, and yet the piece that I need to refine is staying more committed to the picture in my imagination, or the vibration.
Not really.
No.
What you want to do, what you want to be more committed to, is the feeling of the imagination, not the picture.
Okay.
In other words, because imagination is like reading a book. Imagination, you can focus on wanted and unwanted. Imagination is just getting. In other words, were your kids ever late coming home, and then you imagined them in a ditch, under a car, rolled over with water running through their windows? In other words,
goes in a bad place.
You always you can't stop imagery because you see, we want to break this to you gently, but this reality that you think is so real isn't. This reality that you think is so real is changing constantly, changing. But it's changing to the vibration that you've got going on. So it's changing to more of the same in most cases, because you're observing, it's changing to more of that. You're observing, it's changing to more of that. So where imagination comes in is thinking about something other than what is. That's what we meant when we said, Jerry and Esther, we're not kidding you, had many happy, imaginative hours thinking about how they would fix the Gulf leak. It was just fun to think about. It was fun to exercise their logic and exercise their mind. And because they don't have to do it, and because nobody's going to put any pressure on them to do it, and because nobody's mad at them for anything that had to do with it to begin with, they can have pleasurable thought, imagining the solution. The solution's fun for them to imagine. Fun for them to imagine. Now, many might say, well, nice that they're having fun while the Gulf is being covered in oil. And we say, somebody's got to have some fun. Otherwise, nothing good ever happens. If everybody's just focused upon the problem, no solutions ever come to fruition.
Correct.
Somebody's got to put some distance between the problem and where they stand. Otherwise, no inspiration of substance can ever be realized, you see. So imagination is just another word for focus. But it's a stronger word for focus because it means really envisioning.
I get that. So I guess the other piece to that is, and I understand about the reality that you just explained, thank you. When I go to work every day, spend 12 hours traveling to and doing my job, if it's something that is, I don't want to say not where I want to be, but something that I would rather be where my imagination is, where that picture, and I know I shouldn't use the word picture, but something else that I've envisioned, it's hard for me to separate that. Because I feel like I keep reproducing that job thing that I want to shift out of.
Maybe you do, because if you keep observing it, you do. But remember what we said about this vortex. One who's in the vortex is more powerful than a million who. So 15 or 20 minutes, 5 or 10, 3 or 4 here and there, here and there, here and there, here and there, is a lot of leverage. You could be in a job that you really don't like, doing your best to make the best of it, looking for positive aspects, feeling appreciative for the things that you do appreciate about it, and then every now and again go into your vortex, into your place of imagination, and make more happen through your imagery than you made happen all day through the action that you were offering. Because what we want to emphasize is being tuned into the frequency of the vortex makes big things happen. When you look around your world, do you acknowledge that there is any difference in the way people earn? Or is everyone earning exactly the same amount per hour?
No.
So there's a difference. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
So some people earn $20 an hour, some people earn $2,000 an hour, some people earn $20,000 an hour, some people are earning millions of dollars an hour. In other words, there is a big disparity in the amount of money that people are receiving in response to their focus. Would you say that the people who earn the most are offering the most action or the least action? And would you say the people that are earning the least are offering the most action or the least action? In other words, the more action-oriented they are, now it doesn't have to be this way, because you could be in the vortex offering your action, but so we're not really making the distinction purely between action and thought, but we want to make the point that those who are able to lift free of the binding beliefs of action can tap into the energy of the vortex and create massively. And so what we're saying is you could spend 8 hours at a job you don't like, another 2 hours moving to and from the job you don't like, and during those 2 hours that you're moving to and from the job you don't like, if you were in the vortex, you would be creating so much more benefit in those hours of imagination that you spent in those hours of action that it's not even really worth talking about. You ought to be able to give far more of your daytime attention to unwanted things and just a little bit of time to wanted things, and your world would flip.
That's good to know.
But what happens is almost no one can make that separation because, and here it is, they let the reality train their vibration. So when they try to imagine, they can't, because their reality has trained their vibration. So any imagery they have is about what they're already observing. Don't you love knowing that? Don't you think that's a major breakthrough in understanding why things don't change? Right. So here we come along and we suggest that you just find some reason to ignore reality and to fantasize about a vibrational reality that you like more, and use that in the vortex time to practice a frequency that's different than the frequency of reality. And when you practice a frequency that's different than the frequency of reality, reality has to shift to the new frequency. And your neighbors will say, "Whoa, what happened to you?" And you'll say, "I had a paradigm shift." You'll say, I am living a parallel life. You'll say, "I tapped in to who I really am, and so who I wasn't can no longer be here where I am." And they'll say, "We'd like it if you would move far away from here." Now that you've lost your mind completely. But it's all about vibration, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So if I understand, it doesn't necessarily matter the time that I spend in a place where I think that I don't like.
That's what we'd like to say to you. We'd like to say to you, spend 10 or 12 hours a day in that sucky job. And 15 or 20 minutes on delegating to the universe about the world that you would like better. And while you drive to work, imagine that better world, and you'll be just fine. But most of you won't do that because your sucky job has all of your attention. And so when you have some free time, you talk about your sucky job.
Oh, no. I don't talk about...
When you have some free time, you blog about it. You join those websites or you push against it. Most people don't use their imagination other than the way it's been trained. And we've picked on poor Jerry and Esther all day today about this unedible egg breakfast that was delivered to their room, because we acknowledge it's not easy to expect a really delicately cooked, soft, lovely egg when no one's given you one in a while.
Right. You have to imagine it.
Esther said, let's go out to the bus and cook our own eggs. Let's go to the bus and cook our own eggs. But they're too lazy to go to the bus. They could go to the bus and they could cook. They could cook. Esther cooks perfect eggs. And there are eggs in the refrigerator in the bus at this moment. They could have had perfect eggs. But no, they'd rather wrestle the hotel staff to the ground. They'd rather prove their worthiness by demanding that the universe yield to them some perfect eggs. And we say, something's got to change. Their expectation has to change. The universe cannot give you something other than what you've trained yourself to expect. So the question is, and this is why we were so eager to visit with you about This is why we were so eager to visit with you about the power of imagination, because most people allow reality to train your expectation. But when you discover that you can use your imagination to train your expectation, now you can be the creator of anything that you desire. We're eager to hear you.
Oh, I just wanted to comment that I do expect perfect eggs in Sydney and Melbourne. They are always perfect there.
Now, that doesn't help his cause at all, does it? Because now he has to go there. Now he has to go there to get perfect eggs. And there's something deeper, too. There's something very deep and sinister going on. In other words, are you saying that they are advanced egg cookers there? Or are you saying that they care more about food there? Or are you saying that food is healthier there? In other words, there's a lot more going on in your vibration than just how your eggs turn out. Well, there's always something behind it, isn't it? In other words, there's always a reason that you've come to the belief that you do. In other words, there's always a vibrational root to everything. And so now that brings us around. Do we need to get to the absolute vibrational root? In other words, we'll just tell you that Jerry came from farms and they grew lots of food, and there's nothing that Jerry likes better than growing something and eating it from the garden. And he comments frequently that he cannot remember the last time that he bit into an apricot or a peach that really tasted like it was vine ripened on the tree. And so he's been beating the drum of this sort of inappropriate food that's been coming for a while. And so all of this stuff's going on in his vibration. So the question that we have for all of you, and we're going to direct it to him because we've been playing with this subject all day here today, and it's a light subject, but it applies to everything that you're all working on, is it necessary for Jerry to unravel all of the resistance that he might have about food supply, about the way food is handled, about the fact that they pick fruits too green before they send them, about the fact that the chickens aren't really allowed to eat what they want to eat, that they're all eating the same diet so that the egg yolks are anemic, and do we have to get to the bottom of all of those things that are bothering Jerry in order to help him get some really delicious eggs? Or does he just have to imagine some really delicious eggs?
He has to imagine the delicious eggs.
So that's sort of a no-brainer. He just has to imagine some really delicious eggs. But here's the big question. Is it likely that he's going to imagine some really delicious eggs when he's been observing some really not delicious eggs. In other words, what's going to be the leverage? What's going to make it flip?
That's my question. That's the tipping point.
Airtime. How much time do you spend thinking about delicious eggs in comparison to how much time you spend thinking about not delicious eggs? How much time do you spend thinking about a sucky job in relationship to how much time do you spend thinking about a job that would be pleasing to you? In other words, how much airtime am I giving? How much of my focus am I giving? How much of my focus is inside the vortex? How much of my focus is outside the vortex on the subjects in which I wish to affect change? That really is all that it is.
I get that.
What we are really saying to you is you cannot be an avid observer and be a powerful, deliberate creator. So many subjects, Jerry is a magnificent creator. You'll hardly meet anybody that can hold an image in his mind that defies the reality as it exists. In other words, he gets hold of something and he stubbornly holds to it. It's just this egg thing. and you all have that going on. It's just that relationship thing, or it's just that money thing. It's just that one thing that seems. And so what we really want you to take away from this gathering, and we think you're really ready to do it, is what is it going to require for me? What kinds of things might I do that will cause me to offer a vibration about what I want? How can I get to where I want to be from where I am in the most effective way? What is the most direct route to it? And we say, do all your talking about it when the problem is not active. And most everybody does almost all their talking about the improvement they seek when the problem is active. That's when you try to discipline your children. It's when you try to make them see it better. You do most of your thinking about what you want in the midst of observing what you don't want. In other words, it's that problem orientation. And you know what makes you have that problem orientation? You are solution oriented. And you innately know that within the problem is the solution. It's just a little mindset shift that is required. So let's speak it again. I will no longer try to create a good tasting breakfast while I'm eating one that I don't like. I will no longer try to evoke better behavior from my children, from my mother, from my daughter, from my employees. I will no longer try to evoke improved behavior from anyone while I'm observing behavior that is not pleasing to me. I will no longer try to evoke better performance from my government when I'm focused upon what I see as a failure. I will no longer try to find a solution when the problem is what's in my view. Give us more subjects. What else? I'm no longer going to try to change the school system when I'm looking at its ineffectiveness. I'm no longer going to try to fix the immigration problem on the borders of this country while I'm seeing the negative results that we are living. I'm no longer going to try to do the impossible. I'm no longer going to make myself vividly, actively involved in the vibration of the problem and ask for a solution at the same time. I am solution oriented. I'm solution oriented, which means I appreciate the problem that has brought the solution into focus. So every time I focus a little on the problem, there's a solution that pops up. Every detail of the problem pops up a solution. I'm solution oriented. I'm in the vortex oriented. I must use my imagination because the problem is manifested and they're vivid. But the solution popped up and I have to use my imagination to turn my attention to the solution when I'm entrenched in the problem. There it is. That's deliberate creation at its best. That's what you are all reaching for. Imagination, using my gut, using my emotions, using my ability to see what so far isn't manifested, see it so vividly that I evoke within myself emotional responses. I must get so good at this that rational people call me delusional. I have to get so good at this that rational people say, oh, you see the good in everything. I have to get so good that people say, I don't think anything could make you unhappy. You live on a rainbow. You are a Pollyanna. You have to get so good at this that people around you just expect such positive response from you that they no longer find satisfaction complaining to you. The universe is yielding to you where your airtime is.